Okay, back again in Animoji live stream motivation or whatever that is. So basically, I haven't got any new gaming footage or unboxing footage that I can do or prepare for an additional Animoji commentary, even though I still have many videos that basically already done with already prepared with Animoji, but I decided to postpone it until I finally able to move most of the data in my main storage of MacBook Air, since it is pretty annoying every time that I basically try to leave the process behind until my MacBook Air automatically sleep, and it will technically make the caching process will never be delayed until I finally try to create another video with the new cache, obviously. So that's the reason why it is pretty annoying if I try to edit quite a long video, even though I used to be able to edit more than 1 hour video of cyberpunk games. But yeah, right now I just don't get it why, because the last time that I tried to do it only around 30 minutes, which is basically half the maximum that I used to do. It's just almost decrease until it's basically run out of storage, even though it's not as extreme as the 1 hour footage, which basically will need to be cancelled in the middle of the caching process. So that's the reason why the caching will never be delayed once it was actually cancelled during the process. And yeah, it's pretty annoying about those caching process, and I'm not sure whether I can able to turn off those caching process on the iMovie, because to be honest, I don't really mind to have a longer processing time instead of faster processing time, but it really wasting the storage, because maybe that's the strategy that was made by the brand. Just like when you try to buy the latest devices right now, most of it are cannot be upgradable in terms of storage devices. So that's the reason why I'm still thinking quite a while. So that's the reason why I'm also prefer to buy the Dream Gadget instead of a new MacBook Air, which has the latest processor, which is definitely much faster than this old 2013 i5 4th generation processor, and it was actually the ultrabook processor, which definitely even slower than the mobile laptop or the one that basically available on the Mac Mini or even desktop processor, even though it was actually only 2nd generation, I guess. So this is actually 2 generations ahead, but yeah, it's still basically pretty slow, especially when the current strategy is actually to optimize their own ARM processor with their own handmade, or it's not handmade, maybe the default application such as iMovie or even the paid version of Final Cut Pro or even Logic Pro for music composition and other kind of that stuff. So it's even actually optimized for other application which not even developed in-house. So that's the reason why. But yeah, the most annoying things is basically upgrading the storage is needed in the beginnings, and to be honest, 256 GB is actually enough, especially when my previous MacBook Air is actually 128 GB when I was bought those in 2015, even though it was the mid 2013 MacBook Air. So that's the reason why but thankfully it's still basically upgradable using an official converter. So that's the reason why 2018 or 19, I'm not sure. I tried to upgrade from 128 gigabyte to 512 gigabyte, which basically tried to create another separation or partition into the storage for the bootcamp or Windows operating system, but sadly I just don't get it why it's always failed. So that's the reason why I'm still basically able to delete those Windows partition, but yeah, I just don't want to do that. Perhaps, I'm not sure, because I do prefer to buy an expandable storage that basically removable rather than trying to focus on the internal storage, because yeah, for some reason old MacBooks once again is basically much better in terms of expandable storage, which they tried to make a comeback in the latest MacBook, which is basically support SD card again. But yeah, it's still basically not enough, because I used to bought a flash drive, very small flash drive that basically has the same size like the mouse dongle or any kind of wireless dongle for computer peripherals. And yeah, I always try to plug in into the MacBook or my laptop all the times, because it's just pretty convenient to make it as an expandable storage which I can carry all around. But for some reason I decided to not using it anymore, because for some reason after I tried to fill with more than half of its storage, so it was 256 gigabyte of Ultra SanDisk 3.0, I guess, I'm not sure, old Cruiser Ultra Fit, I guess. So yeah, it just suddenly turned into a read-only storage, which basically can only be cured, but it's still not 100% possible. So there's still some possibilities that it will never be cured. So that's the reason why I decided to not formatting the devices and just stay what it is, as 128 gigabyte of flash storage and a read-only ones. So yeah, that's the reason why maybe I'm actually wanted to buy, because right now the price of this kind of storage is also already decreased half. So that's the reason why with the same amount of money that I used to buy, I don't know, maybe more than 5 years ago, for the 256 gigabyte of flash drive, right now I can buy it with the 512 gigabyte of flash drive, which basically I really wanted to buy it, but I'm still trying to postpone it all the time, because I always try to buy other things that for me I will rather prioritize it. Besides, I also already tried to buy the micro SD 512 gigabyte for my Nintendo Switch, which eventually wasted, because it turns out I'm no longer playing the Nintendo Switch, since I already had the Dream Gadget, which basically act as the same thing but with the much better games, obviously, because it's actually stronger than my old gaming PC, which is basically a desktop PC. So that's the reason why. And yeah, I think with the upcoming trip, my trip that I think I have tried to explain before on the previous stream, which basically already more than I don't know, 6 years ago, traveling overseas, and I finally able to do it again, and with the same location as well, even though yeah, it is okay, since it's basically enough for me, especially when I just wanted to use my leave on my main works on the companies. So because I never really use it, instead of just use it several days for, I don't know, just for relax for a while, because for some reason working from home is doesn't really matters to take leave, because I always feel very comfortable to work at any time in house as an antisocial person once again, which is pretty convenient. So that's the reason why I never really wanted to come back into the office. And basically the only things that I want to, every time that I basically going outside my house or going out, is actually just for doing hangout or any kind of entertainment purposes, so not for work. So that's the reason why, because to be honest, all of the experience that I basically been through on working from office before the pandemic is actually not really a vision at all, because most of the time I'm actually just wasting my productivity, especially the one that I can basically use for personal productivity like this, even though this is actually cannot be considered as productivity yet, because yeah, for some reason it still not really attract many viewers at all, because yeah, I just don't know who is basically the one that try to view my videos, because it's very little numbers, maybe just people or even a bot. I'm not sure, but actually it's okay as long as I basically already try to fulfill my satisfaction of doing this kind of productivity, in order to not regret of not doing it in the past, just like when I already tried to talk to explain it all the time in my stream. Every time that I remember that this is basically unnecessary things to do, so yeah, that's the reason why. But yeah, it's still basically much more important than wasting my time on the office, which is basically just wasting money as well, for buying a coffee, buying things to eat, which is basically will decrease my income even more than one that obviously I tried to do it when I was working in home. So that's the reason why. Besides, one thing that I basically really annoys me is basically the transportation into the office, which is basically full of traffic jam, and it's really making me exhausted and stressed every time that I basically come back into the home after going work. So all of the things that I can do is just rest, and there's no productivity that I can basically do except in the weekend. So that's the reason why weekend seems to be very valuable to me, even though it's very less. It's just happens so fast. Even though right now I'm still actually experienced that kind of thing, especially when I didn't do anything in the weekend. But yeah, it's still some possibilities that I can basically do during the work days, instead of when I do it from the office, which basically most likely that I will do is just regular office work, which is basically yeah, pretty unnecessary. So yeah, hopefully I will try to borrow the dream gadget, and hopefully I can basically use it like it was supposed to be, because yeah, for some reason the PC gaming handheld are just meant to be used for travel, even though if you talk about the battery life of the devices, it's just very fast to be drained. So that's the reason why every time that I try to use it in the house or when I was not going out, so I never really use it at travel yet, because I never been travel unless the one that basically with my college friends. But I didn't brought it because yeah, because the purpose that I wanted to do with travel is not for playing, because it's just for pure travel and just spend with my friends that I rarely to see them. So that's the reason why. But right now the one that I will do in the next 2 weeks is basically pure travel or just family travel. So I will most likely have some time to do vacation, holiday, or staycation, perhaps in a hotel. So that's the reason why I think I wanted to brought my dream gadgets in my travel. So yeah, instead of I'm just trying to brought my tablet or just for browsing purposes, because I usually only brought that to travel. So yeah, that's the reason why. I don't know. I actually hear some interruption, but I just don't get it. I think it was a false interruption, because I used to be have some free time, obviously. It's already 16 minutes, so 3 minutes remaining until it become the longest live stream again. And yeah, the last time that I tried to talk is basically the battery life of the dream gadget. Yeah, because it's basically a quite powerful devices, so it's definitely needs some power in order to run the devices, especially with a very small size. So that's the reason why it's also cannot fit with a big battery as well. And for some reason, if you talk about the power bank or the portable charging, I'm not sure what's basically the real names of those kind of thing, but it's already exists more than 10 years ago. So I already tried to but the power bank, that's basically it's still pretty good to be used, maybe because it's not really often to be used as well. So that's the reason why it still can charge my phone from 0 to 100%, perhaps, I'm not sure, because it's have 6,000 million hours. I'm not sure, 6,000 of mAh, not sure. So it was currently a cheap things to buy, because during that time, more than 10 years ago, I was bought that devices for around $30, and right now maybe it's only cost $5 for that capacity. So that's the reason why, but it's still pretty much enough for mobile phones, but it's definitely not enough for any kind of laptop or even my dream gadgets, because yeah, it's not even able to charge it, because it still has a USB-A and very small current, which basically not able to charge any kind of higher devices. I think tablet is not even supported. So that's the reason why I will not most likely brought any kind of power bank, because if you talk about the power bank, that's basically costs almost $100 right now, which is basically able to charge any kind of laptop and other powerful handheld devices. It's still not enough to charge from 0 to 100%, so most likely it's only 0 to 50% perhaps, which is pretty annoying, especially when you basically see the technology or the size of the power bank, which is already pretty big and pretty heavy, perhaps because it's has a capacity more than 10 times of the regular power bank for a mobile phone. So that's the reason why, but it's still not enough, because probably many high-end laptop or is having more than 90,000 perhaps of capacity. So that's the reason why 60,000 is still not enough. And yeah, I just don't know when will it finally able to create those kind of technology, because yeah, for some reason, if you talk about the weight of the battery pack that basically can turn on any kind of vehicles such as car or motorcycle, it's weight almost for around 5 to 10 kilograms perhaps for the battery pack, and yeah, it was pretty heavy and high capacity, so that's the reason why it can also be used to turn on a whole small house, including the air conditioner that basically not possible to have with the portable battery. So that's the reason why there is an inverter that will convert from DC to AC powers, which is basically pretty good, especially when your house is often lights out. But right now I'm not really experienced those things again, so that's the reason why I never really bought the inverter to power up a house from a car, which is pretty interesting. So yeah, if you talk about the car engine, even for regular city cars, it's actually can produce maybe more than 2000 watt, I guess. So that's the reason why gasoline is pretty powerful for electricity, even though it's basically not cost efficiency at all. If you try to compare with the how cheap is the electricity is, even though yeah, if you talk about running a whole house, it's basically pretty expensive, but yeah, it's still basically much more expensive if you try to running a whole house using a gasoline. So that's the reason why even diesel engine is still not cost efficiency enough. So that's the reason why electric car right now is basically cheaper to run, even though yeah, it's definitely will increase your electricity bill more than twice perhaps for the electric car that have the same size of your regular city cars. But yeah, it's definitely will not the same as when you try to run a regular city car with the gasoline. So it's still technically maybe around, I don't know, 2 times cheaper. So I'm not sure, because yeah, it depends on your destination, because obviously besides in order to charge an electric vehicles, it's also needs a very long time, especially when you didn't have enough current to charge your vehicles with fast charging, because yeah, it's only possible with a big current, which most likely only happen in a big house. So that's the reason why it's still the technology is may not really ready yet, but yeah, it's still possible. So it's already 23 minutes, so I think I will try to stop, because I think that's all that I want to talk is about